She had been signing her name every 3 months for 2 years. No one in that room had told her what she was signing, not the notary, not the young woman sitting beside her, not the facility staff who stood at the door while the paperwork was spread across the table. Eleanor Voss was 91 years old. She had moderate dementia. She recognized her own signature the way a person recognizes a face they can no longer quite place. She signed because someone handed her a pen. Carol Marsh had been a court-appointed guardian for 14 years. She managed the affairs of people who could no longer manage them themselves, the elderly, the incapacitated, the legally designated vulnerable. She reviewed care plans, authorized medical decisions, monitored accounts, and filed quarterly reports with the county court. It was not glamorous work. It required a specific kind of patience, the patience of someone who knows that the worst things that happen to people often happen quietly, inside families, behind paperwork that is technically legal. Eleanor Voss had been assigned to Carol's caseload 18 months earlier, following a hospital stay and a capacity evaluation ordered by a social worker at the memory care facility where Eleanor had lived for 3 years. Her husband Harold had died the previous spring. She had no children. Her closest living relative was a granddaughter named Patricia, who lived 40 minutes away and held Eleanor's durable power of attorney. A document Harold had helped Eleanor execute 4 years before he died, when neither of them had imagined it would be needed so soon. Carol had met Patricia once, at the intake meeting. She was in her mid-40s, well-dressed, and spoke quickly in the way people do when they are anxious to seem cooperative. She asked thoughtful questions about Eleanor's care plan. She said she visited as often as she could. Eleanor's estate was modest but real. A paid-off house appraised at $340,000, still on the market. A brokerage account holding $218,000, the careful accumulation of 49 years of Harold's discipline, and a savings account carrying just under $22,000. It was enough to fund her care for several years if managed carefully. Carol's job was to make sure it was. The audit that changed everything began on a Tuesday in February, during what Carol expected to be a routine quarterly review. She pulled Eleanor's account statements going back 22 months, as required, poured a cup of coffee, and started from the most recent and worked backward. The savings account was normal. The care facility's monthly charges were processing correctly. The automatic bill payments on the house were in order. Then she opened the brokerage statements. In 22 months, Eleanor's investment account had decreased by $163,000. The account had not lost money in the market. The market had done reasonably well over that period. The money had left in transfers, 7 of them, ranging from $11,000 to $34,000, each authorized by a signed withdrawal form. Each form carried Eleanor Voss's signature. Each had been notarized by someone named D. Hartley. Carol pulled the paper copies from the file. Eleanor's signature was real. She recognized it from other documents. The handwriting was shaky but consistent. The notary's seal was valid. On their face, these were legal transactions. She called Patricia that afternoon. The call went to voicemail. She called again the next morning. Voicemail again. She sent a certified letter requesting a call within 5 business days. In the meantime, she drove to the facility to see Eleanor. Eleanor was in the common room, watching a nature program with the sound turned low. She was wearing a pale blue cardigan and holding a cup of tea she had apparently forgotten about. She recognized Carol with a small, uncertain smile, the kind people use when they know a face belongs to their life but can't quite locate where. Carol sat with her for 20 minutes. She asked how she was sleeping, whether she liked the new food menu, whether she'd had any visitors recently. Eleanor said she thought her granddaughter had been by, maybe last month, or before that. She wasn't sure. She said Patricia was very busy. Carol asked, carefully, if Eleanor remembered signing any papers lately. Eleanor thought about it. She said she signed things sometimes. People brought things for her to sign and she signed them. She didn't always read them. Her eyes weren't what they used to be. She trusted that if someone needed her signature, it was for something she was supposed to do. Carol drove back to her office. She spent the next 3 days going through every document in Eleanor's file. The first withdrawal, $18,000, was dated 4 days after Harold Voss died. Carol checked the date twice. Harold had died on a Wednesday. Eleanor's signature authorizing the withdrawal was dated the following Sunday. The handwriting on that form was different from the others, unsteadier, the pen pressed harder in some places and lighter in others. The signature of a woman who had just buried her husband of 49 years. The second transfer was dated 11 days after Eleanor was hospitalized for a fall that fractured her wrist. She had been discharged after 4 days. The withdrawal was processed the day after she returned to the facility. The amount was $27,000. Carol went through all 7. Every transfer had been dated within 2 weeks of a disruption in Eleanor's life, a health event, a medication change noted in the care records, a holiday when the facility was understaffed and visitors moved through the common areas without being logged as carefully as usual. She didn't know if this was deliberate or coincidence. She knew it needed to be answered. She searched the notary. D. Hartley had a valid commission in the county, issued 6 years ago. She searched the name alongside Patricia's. On the third search, she found a photograph from a college alumni association newsletter, 12 years old. Patricia Voss, then Patricia Gould, standing with a group of women at a fundraiser. The caption named them left to right. One of them was Diane Hartley. Carol sat back in her chair for a long moment. She requested Patricia's financial records through the court. It took 4 days for the order to come through. When it did, she read through the documents slowly, twice. 18 months ago, Patricia had carried $68,000 in personal debt, 3 credit cards, a home equity line, and a personal loan at a rate that told its own story about her creditworthiness at the time. She had applied for a mortgage refinance and been denied. The credit report that accompanied that application was in the file, and it painted a picture of someone who had been quietly drowning for a while. By last quarter, the balances were gone. The loan was paid off. The credit cards showed 0. The home equity line had been closed. Carol looked at the final figure, $163,000 transferred out of Eleanor's account, and then looked at the $68,000 Patricia had paid off and thought for a moment about where the rest had gone. Carol requested a meeting with Patricia. She chose neutral ground, a conference room at the county courthouse annex, not Carol's office, not Patricia's home. She said only that she had questions about Eleanor's account activity she needed to resolve before filing her quarterly report. Patricia arrived on time. She was dressed carefully, in the same deliberate way as the intake meeting, the way that communicates effort and expects it to be noticed. She sat down across from Carol and asked how Eleanor was doing. Carol said Eleanor was well. Then she opened the folder in front of her and laid out the 7 transfer authorizations, one by one, in chronological order. Patricia looked at them. Her expression held for a moment before something shifted. Not guilt, exactly, but the recognition that the conversation she had been quietly anticipating had finally arrived. She said Eleanor had understood what she was signing. She said they had talked about it. Eleanor had told her, more than once, that she wanted Patricia to be taken care of. That Harold would have wanted the same. That Patricia was the only family she had left, and family was supposed to look after each other. Carol asked when Patricia had last visited Eleanor. Patricia said a few months ago. Maybe 3. She had been busy, work, her kids, the drive. Carol opened the facility's visitor log and placed it on the table between them. The last recorded visit from Patricia Voss was 19 months ago. The date fell 3 weeks before the first withdrawal. The log listed every visitor, every date, every sign in time. There were entries from Carol herself, from a former neighbor who came twice a year, from a volunteer who read to residents on Sunday afternoons. Patricia's name did not appear again after that first entry. Patricia looked at the log for a long time. The room was quiet except for something in the hallway. A cart moving past, voices at a distance, a door closing somewhere. She said she didn't think she should say anything else without speaking to a lawyer. Carol said that was her right. She gathered the documents, thanked Patricia for her time, and left. Carol filed the report that evening, Adult Protective Services, the county court, and the state attorney's office. She included the transfer records, the notary connection, Patricia's financial documentation, the visitor log, and her own written account of every step she had taken over the preceding 2 weeks. The investigation moved slowly, as these things do. Patricia was charged with elder financial abuse 8 months later. Diane Hartley's notary commission was suspended pending the inquiry. The $163,000 had been largely spent on debts, on home renovations, on things that don't easily come back. Eleanor's house sold in March. The proceeds went into a restricted account managed by the court. There was enough to continue funding her care for several years if nothing changed significantly. Carol visited Eleanor on the first Tuesday of every month, as she always had. One afternoon in November, Eleanor asked if Patricia was coming for Christmas. She asked it in the clear, certain way she sometimes had, the way dementia worked occasionally, letting a person be entirely present for a moment before the window closed again. Carol said she wasn't sure. Eleanor nodded. She looked out the window at the parking lot below, the trees bare now, the sky the color of old paper. She said she supposed Patricia was very busy. Carol stayed another 20 minutes. She helped Eleanor finish the cup of tea that had gone cold. She said goodbye, walked through the lobby, and got into her car. On her desk back at the office, there were 4 new files. She knew the general shape of what they contained without opening them. She had been doing this for 14 years. She sat down and opened the first one.